Hello there, Commonwealth from here. The Nintendo Switch 2 is the hot topic and next big thing in the gaming world, so let's get straight into the news from the industry and studios themselves. But first, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. First out, Omdia analyst Hiroshi Hayase, a specialist in the display market who came with the following report through Bloomberg. 8-inch Switch 2 display, so almost 2 inches bigger than the 2017 and revised 2019 6.2 inches Nintendo Switch. It is also 1 inch bigger than the 2021 7-inch Nintendo Switch OLED model display. There's only one downside in this story: LCD. Yes, a bigger screen, so 8 inches, but not OLED. For anyone who owns a Nintendo Switch OLED model and a regular Nintendo Switch LCD, you know the difference in color vibrancy between the two. It is the sole reason to upgrade from a regular Switch, apart from the display actually being bigger and the bezel smaller. Could Nintendo be saving OLED for a mid-gen close to or literal 9-inch upgrade? After all, it is what they did for the Nintendo Switch in 2021. 4 years in the current system's lifecycle, the mid-gen upgrades. Then there's the question: Full HD 1080p or just the current 720p? We know that several PC-focused competitors have 800 or 1080p LCD displays, so an upgrade should be expected to justify the lack of an OLED display. Besides, 7 inches is pretty much the industry starting point for Valve's Steam Decks, which OLED models have 7.4 inches displays. Then we have the Japanese competition, namely the PlayStation Portal from Sony, with its, you guessed it, 8 inches Full HD 1080p LCD display with the same DualSense controllers on the side. Imagine if the Switch successor came with the Switch Pro controllers attached to each side. Needless to say, this would be a dream come true, since we all love the Switch Pro controller. Big buttons, analog sticks, and more. Even more reduced display bezel, or an entirely bezel-less system to prevent the on-dock system from being too bulky and big to handle. What we have described above is pretty much a dream come true for developers around the world. It is also the perfect transition to our next updates. The next-gen Nintendo dev kits are with trusted developers. This statement is a fact. Same is the case with certain developers beside Nintendo developing or porting their games for the unannounced Nintendo hybrid successor. The new power of Nintendo is definitely out in the wild, and clearly a substantial percentage of the industry is already making games for the new system. 8% have even admitted it in the anonymous Western Game Developer Conference survey. This despite Nintendo's very strict NDAs, which I know rather well. After all, I had to sign several of these, including when previewing Tears of the Kingdom last year. What does this mean? That probably far more of the surveyed studios, both third-party and indie, are working with Nintendo dev kits to deliver more games, and not say 10 months or several years after first releasing on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, but far more often on the same day. The big difference from prior generations. At the same time, more of the people surveyed most likely kept shut even in an anonymous survey. They have the dev kits and know what the specs are, but are careful to not wake up the Nintendo ninjas. Or more specifically, Nintendo's legal teams around the world. The above statement might explain why 32% of all developers are most excited for a system that hasn't even been announced by Nintendo yet. It is an industry secret to everybody, for now. And here's why this news is so crucial, and my unscripted thoughts about all of this. Truth to be told, this is actually the most important news we have received about the Switch 2 since the Gamescom 2023 demo leak. And why? Both are connected. In both cases, developers were the first to admit that they have either seen or are working with the specs of the Nintendo Switch successor. Why does this matter? Since Nintendo is pushing really hard to get third-party support. And not only that, Western third-party support. And what came out from there is therefore very, and I mean very credible. I would say that both of these cases are a very important insight into what this system could become. And it's very clear that Nintendo doesn't want to talk about it, at least not yet. Because right now, the public already has more knowledge than the Kyoto gaming giant would like us to have. Far more, in fact. since in their ideal scenario, no one would be talking about this thing until Mario vs. Donkey Kong is out, so the second half of February 2024. Instead, this has been a subject for years already, as is Gamescom 2023 with specific details. In fact, the potentially upscaled 4K next-gen system appears to be one of Nintendo's worst-kept secrets, not just current, but of all time. More on the issue of these ones a little later on in the video. But yes, there's a reason to be excited, as here we're talking about the power of actual TV systems within the palm of our hands. Or the sun if you're a Spider-Man fan. Not PS5 or Xbox Series X level, but no longer 720p or lower at frame rates dropping below 30. Hardware specifications for this upcoming console is more and more appealing for AAA third-party developers for day one releases of the most ambitious new game. Not only Nintendo-dominated Japan, but also the West, so European and North American game studios. And it is all thanks to Nvidia's DLSS, explanation on the screen, upscaling technology. Imagine the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds, Witcher 4, and far more coming out on the same day on the Nintendo Switch 2 as on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, and not as a cloud version, but as a day one physical port in cartridge. That is what we should read between the lines of this publication from GDC, and in truth, this excitement is, as I already mentioned, thanks to what Nintendo first demonstrated at their Gamescom industry booth in August 2023. New system and ace card of the next generation. The chip provider Nvidia's DLSS upscaling trick, boosting both resolution and frame rates while using far lesser specs. For now, we only have the confirmation of the Matrix Unreal Engine 5 playable demo, but also Breath of the Wild in a way that has never been seen on TV home consoles before. 4K. This presence at the biggest gaming event in the world last year after the fall of E3 was all about convincing Western developers. And what leaked out from those sessions is Nintendo's true ambition for the next generation, delivering the Nintendo 4K dream on our 4K televisions by the end of 2024. Not native, but upscaled. Still, that is enough, as graphics detail differences have become far less noticeable generation-wise than during this last decade. Indeed, Nintendo has a true opportunity right here. Strong enough upscaled 4K docked with an unrivaled, potentially full HD display on-docked experience. The reply to the Steam Deck and other hybrids, though in truth, PC hybrid rivals. One of the biggest game developers around the world are more than excited to deliver their biggest titles for, not broken cloud versions or parodies of their hard work. To a degree that the first placeholder pre-orders for the Switch 2 have even popped up. Likely over a month before the Switch 2 is even announced by Nintendo, not even speaking of visual review. But you need to understand this. No legit store has the system officially for sale or pre-order yet, so watch out. And besides, this is a typical trick that we have seen from many Nintendo games in the past. Metroid Prime 4 and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom had pre-orders from 2020. At least those games had been announced by Nintendo themselves before pre-orders went up 3 to 7 years prior to their actual releases. After all, that is what it all boils down to. Next-gen Nintendo at the right price, with more and better things to offer than the Switch could. Mostly having more of the same games on day one as on other systems, plus some improvements here and there. But what are your thoughts about the Nintendo Switch 2 GDC survey? And should we hold Switch 2 content creators to stricter standards? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you enjoy Switch 2 uploads that are more critical and investigative on the claims and not milking daily what hasn't even been announced by Nintendo, then please leave a like to make this video more visible. Press that subscribe button and notification bell for all notifications. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching to the end and to all our patreon.com/comearound patrons. Special shoutouts go to Raw producers Zach Johnson and JC Funk, and heroes Holly Wolf, Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, and Jeffrey Van Driest. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two. to awesome videos.